You know, the software you use every single day, it's not built from scratch. Nope. It's actually assembled from hundreds, maybe even thousands of different pieces of code from all over the place. This creates this huge invisible network, a supply chain for software. But what happens when someone poisons that chain?
It's a pretty simple question, right? But the answer is anything but. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at two huge software supply chain attacks. They're going to show us just how this invisible threat works. First, though, let's get on the same page about what we're actually up against.
Just look at this. Think of it like a giant spider's web. Every single dot is a piece of code, some project that a person somewhere is taking care of. The app on your phone might only use a few of these directly, but those pieces depend on other pieces, which depend on even more. It's this massive, sprawling network, and a single weak link, one tiny vulnerability in some obscure corner, can cause a domino effect across the entire system.
Now here's the really sneaky part. Attackers aren't coming after you directly. Oh no, they're way smarter than that. They go after the software you already use and trust. They basically poison the well because they know that eventually we all have to drink from it. It's an incredibly stealthy and brutally effective way to get into a ton of systems all at once.
So, our first case study is a perfect example of this. This attack isn't about changing the software's code at all. It's about messing with the journey it takes to get to you. Let's take a look at what happened to Notepad++, one of the most popular code editors on the planet.
The whole thing was just simple and deadly effective. Okay, so, step 1. The attackers broke into the web hosting provider for the Notepad++ website. Step 2. They used that access to sit and watch, intercepting the requests from people trying to update their software. And finally, step 3. Instead of the real update, they pushed out a malicious copy to a few carefully chosen targets. See? The software itself was totally fine. It was the delivery that got hijacked.
And this quote from the official disclosure really lays it all out. Even after the server was supposedly fixed, the attackers still had the keys. They could just sit there in the middle of the traffic, picking and choosing who to target, in this case financial and telecom companies in East Asia, and the main developer had no idea. They weren't just hijacking any old delivery truck, they were picking their targets with surgical precision.
So how in the world do you fix a problem like that? Well, if you can't trust the delivery guy, you have to be able to trust the package, right? The solution was to enforce digital signatures. So now, when Notepad++ grabs an update, it first checks for this unique, unfakeable cryptographic seal. If that seal is broken or isn't perfect in any way, the update just fails. It's basically a tamper-proof seal for software. So to put it really simply, the attackers here didn't even try to get into the software factory. Why bother? They just waited down the road, hijacked the delivery truck, and swapped out the real packages for their malicious ones.
And that thought, well, that leads us to a much, much scarier kind of attack. One that is way more patient, way more sophisticated. One that doesn't just hijack the delivery, but actually corrupts the product right at the source.
Okay, so now let's talk about the big one, the now infamous attack on a tiny but absolutely critical little library called XZUtils. This wasn't a quick smash and grab, this was a long con, a total infiltration and takeover of a project from the inside out.
I mean, just look at this timeline. The most shocking part is the sheer patience involved. This wasn't a quick hack. We're talking about a multi-year campaign. The attackers started super small back in 2021, just slowly, methodically building trust. And for over 2.5 years, they played the long game, just waiting for the right moment to slip in a backdoor that could compromise servers all over the world. And you know how it was found? Pure luck. A developer just happened to notice his computer was logging in about half a second too slow. That's it. We were that close to a catastrophe.
And the sheer audacity of how they did it is just mind-blowing. They basically weaponized being a good software developer. Every single malicious move was hidden inside a seemingly helpful suggestion. Hey, let's move to GitHub, it's more modern. Boom, they get control. Hey, we should add more tests to improve quality. Bam, they hide the malware inside those test files where no one would ever dream of looking. They made themselves so essential that nobody thought to question them.
And if you want to know the secret to how they pulled it off, look at this. This is maybe the most shocking part of all. The attacker built their reputation not by writing brilliant code, but by doing the boring, thankless work. Over half of their contributions were to documentation and translations, the stuff that gets the least amount of scrutiny. They became a trusted leader by doing the chores nobody else wanted to.
So when you boil it all down, this wasn't really a coding hack, it was a social hack. The attacker found a critical project run by one single overworked volunteer. They patiently built trust, used fake online accounts to pressure the guy into accepting help, and then they presented themselves as the perfect solution. They didn't have to break down the door. They were handed the keys.
So we've just seen two very different kinds of attacks. One hijacks the delivery, the other corrupts the source. So why is this so critical for all of us to understand?
Because of this number, 90%. That's the estimated percentage of modern applications that are built with open-source parts. Think about that. Our entire digital world, from your banking app to critical government infrastructure, it's all built on this shared foundation. We're all downstream from projects just like XEUtils.
And that's the great paradox here, isn't it? The whole system works because of the incredible power of community and volunteers maintaining this stuff in their spare time, but that's also what makes it so incredibly fragile. We have global, critical infrastructure that depends on the goodwill and the limited time of just a handful of people who can be manipulated, pressured, or just plain burnout.
Which leaves us with a really tough question. The Notepad++ attack showed us we can't always trust the delivery. The XEUtils attack showed we can't always trust the source. So, in a world built on code from strangers, how do we actually verify who we can trust? There's no easy answer, but understanding the threat, that's the first step.